Welcome everybody to another episode of TNT Spices. Today we are going to make ourselves a fantastic hearty winter dish. We're going to make ourselves what's essentially a stew. It's also known as beef bourguignon. If I said that wrong, please excuse me. We're not even going to do beef bourguignon. We're going to do our version of this dish. It's going to be a little different, but it's going to be delicious. We're going to use some venison. What I have in this bowl here is some cubed up venison rump roast. Stay tuned because you're going to love this. To start our recipe, I have some venison rump roast that I cubed up. Now it was roughly a little over 4 pounds of rump roast. I am going to take half a cup of our umami bomb seasoning. I'm going to mix that in to our meat. Then I'm going to give it a good stir. And then we're going to let it sit in the refrigerator for a good half hour to an hour. As our venison is in the refrigerator with the dry rub, we are going to fry up some bacon that I have already cubed up. We're going to make this crisp. We're going to set this to the side. We finished browning up all of our bacon. Now, we're not going to get rid of this bacon fat that's in the pan. I'm next going to take our venison that we had in the fridge, and we're going to brown up our venison the best we can. We're going to have to do this in batches. We have finished browning all of our meat. We're going to put that to the side. Next, I have a pound of carrots that I've chopped up. We're going to place that inside of our pot with the grease and the seasonings that are all in here. We're going to cook our carrots up a few minutes to try to get them a little tender. We've now had our carrots in this frying pan for several minutes, and as you can see, they're starting to caramelize and they're starting to tenderize a little bit. Next, I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of some bourbon. I'm going to add that in. We're going to deglaze this pot a little bit. I next have 4 ounces of tomato sauce. I'm going to pour that in here. Stir this in with the bourbon and the carrots. Deglazed real nice. I have 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add into here. We're going to stir this up. Once we get this well combined, we're going to transfer this mixture into a slow cooker. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to take our carrot mixture that was in our frying pan. We're going to add that to our crock pot. I have 1 bag of frozen pearl onions. We're going to add that to our crock pot. Then I have 2 pints of white button mushrooms that we've cleaned. We're going to add those in. I have the meat that we browned up. I have 1 whole head of garlic that I've just chopped up. Into pieces. I have 1 tablespoon of herbs de Provence that we're going to add into this. Then 2 tablespoons of our SPG.
Delicious, so delicious.
I have 2 poblano peppers that I have chopped up. I have some small tomatoes. This is a little over 1 pound of tomatoes. We're going to throw these in here. I have 2 bay leaves. I have 2 cups of beef stock. I have 1 whole bottle of wine. Now I'm using a port wine. Port wine is a very sweet wine, and that's the purpose that we're using this for, because we want to add some of that sweetness to this, unlike the dry wine that you would normally use. Now that we have all of our ingredients inside of our slow cooker, we are going to simply put the lid on. We're going to turn this on high, and this is just going to sit here and cook for hours and hours. We have allowed our stew to cook for several hours. Our meat has gotten tender. It's been roughly about 4 to 5 hours that we've been cooking this. We're now going to take, I have 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add in. I also have 2 tablespoons of honey. We placed our butter and our honey in here. We're stirring this all up. After adding those ingredients, we're next going to turn the slow cooker off, and we're going to allow it to cool down some, and then we're going to place all of this in the refrigerator. We're not going to eat this until tomorrow. We're going to let this sit overnight. It's going to allow the flavors in this to become even richer, more pronounced, and it's just going to taste so much better. So we'll get to this tomorrow. It is the following morning. Late in the morning. We have brought our stew up from the refrigerator, placed it back inside of our slow cooker on low this time, and we're going to gradually warm this up. We've had our slow cooker on for a little over an hour now on low. This is not heated up or ready at this moment, but what it has done is that it's allowed it to become all liquid again after being in the refrigerator overnight. Now I'm going to take, I have a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. I'm going to add that to our stew at this point. We're going to simply stir in our cornstarch and let this continue cooking. Our stew has been cooking a good 2 to 3 hours on low. We are now to the point where we're almost ready to serve this. Off camera, I did make one other change. I added an additional 1/4 cup of cornstarch to our mixture because I wanted to make our gravy a little bit thicker. So in total, I put a 1/2 cup of cornstarch into this. Now, our last ingredient to go into this stew is our bacon that we cooked up way early.
Bacon!
We're going to throw that in here. We're going to stir it up. And now our stew is actually 100% finished and ready to be plated. But we're going to put this on top of some mashed cassava. And it's really going to be delicious. Let me show you how we're making our mashed cassava. Then we'll plate this up. Typically with beef bourguignon, you would use mashed potatoes. We're not going to do that with our venison. We are going to instead cook ourselves up some yuca or cassava. Now I have a pot here full of water. We're going to season our water. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of our Norma's Latin rub. We're going to add that to our water. Let this come to a boil. Next, we're going to add our cassava. Our water has now come to a boil. We have some frozen yuca or cassava, whichever you might like to call it. This is actually something that you can get in a place as easy as Walmart. They sell it in the frozen aisle, in the Goya aisle. We're going to place in our yuca. We're going to cook these until our yuca becomes tender. Our cassava has finished cooking. What I've done is I didn't strain all of the water. I kept our water to the side. I took them out. Now, one thing with cassava is there is a stem that's in the center of all these. You need to open them up and you need to remove this hard stem. This hard stem you just dispose of. This is inedible. Okay, I've done that already to all the rest of our cassava. Now, I have a cup of heavy cream that I'm going to add to these. I have 1 stick of unsalted butter. I have 1 whole garlic head that I roasted ahead of time. Okay, it's very simple. You just take a piece of aluminum foil, a little olive oil, salt and pepper, wrap it up tight, throw it in your oven at 425 degrees for about 40-45 minutes, then let it cool off, and then you just squeeze out the bulbs. We're going to add that. Next, I have a half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Now we're simply going to begin mashing this.
Smash, smash, smash!
We've gotten our cassava mashed up really well. I've switched over now to a spoon. I also adjusted the seasoning off camera. I add a tablespoon of our Norma's Latin rub to this. Now you can season this to taste with just plain old salt and pepper if you'd like. Now as you're mashing this, if it becomes too thick, what you do is you just grab some of the leftover water that you had boiled the yuca in and add a little bit of it to get it to the consistency that you like. What we're going to do next is we're going to use these to plate up our meal. Our meal is finished. We have plated up this stew. This is going to be a meal full of many delicious flavors.
It's so tasty too.
We thank you, as always, for joining us here on Tntspices. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share these videos, let friends, neighbors know to subscribe or follow us. And as always, to each and every one of you guys out there, we appreciate the support, and God bless each and every one of you.
Bye!